outside, and I wish you could see me and how good I will be.
I'm never gonna get over how weird it is to like have silent clapping be the norm. It's so weird, but I so appreciate seeing your guys' faces and names, and this is really awesome for me. So thank you so much, Jason, for asking.
My fault.
That's all right. That's a musical intro is really good. Um, so I am in New York right now and always, and it's been really pretty crazy here. But I've had some awesome opportunities to get to teach people through Zoom, like in California, in my hometown, and seeing you guys. So what I've kind of discovered is that you can teach voice on Zoom. It takes a different kind of accompaniment, but it is really okay, and I can do it, and you guys can learn through it, and it's awesome. I just want to let you guys know that afterward I'm going to send a warm-up tape to Jason so that he can send it out to you guys, because I'm going to go through some interactive warm-ups that kind of hit all of the vocal technique stuff that you guys would need to put on a killer show. So I'm going to send that to him after. I'm going to send male and female ranges. I know the men get neglected, especially with female voice teachers. So I'm going to send those out. And I'm also going to send a couple of YouTube playlists. I'm going to show some YouTube videos today that just kind of go through some examples, but also I'm going to invite you into my very strange neurotic singing world, where I, every month, obsess over YouTube videos, and then I send out playlists to my kids. I call them my kids, but my students, so that they can kind of see what I've been learning, like what I've been listening to. I love singing. I'm just obsessed with it. I love singing so much, and I love teaching singing, and so I'm really excited to have you guys access those videos as well. So I'm going to send out a ton of resources after. So I have an outline of things to talk about because I'm a teacher at heart, but I also just want to open up and tell you a little bit about my own vocal journey. I'm the mother. I'm not a mother. I have no children. My mother is a music teacher. She was my music teacher, which was very difficult because no matter what part I wanted in the musical, I never got it because my mom did not believe in nepotism. Unlike certain people in the world, but I never got the part, which was really sad. And so my mom put me in voice lessons when I was 16, and they were classical voice lessons. So I learned how to sing classically first, and then I was in piano lessons, also classical. And then I did some musical theater in high school. I studied musical theater in college, and then went to Manhattan School of Music for opera. And about 6 months into my first year, I realized I really hate opera. I hate it. I hated everything about it. My teacher was verbally abusive to me, telling me I couldn't sing. Just, there's a lot of that in the classical voice world, and I got the full brunt of it, and it was terrible. So I decided, since it was only a 2-year program, I was just gonna buck it up and finish it. And I did, and then I immediately sought instruction from some amazing voice teachers in New York that taught rock and pop techniques, because while I was going to opera school during the day, I would go to a karaoke bar at night and sing Heart and sing Led Zeppelin and sing the music that I love. And I started to kind of train my voice that way and start to fall in love with music again. If you get the wrong teacher and you get in the wrong kind of genre, you can kind of start to hate music, and music is my life. I didn't want that to happen. So karaoke kind of saved me a little bit. I highly recommend going to karaoke when we all can. Again, I know it's a little hard because of COVID, but then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so then I sought the instruction of Don Lawrence, who is Lady Gaga's voice teacher. He also taught Mick Jagger, Steven Tyler, Celine Dion, a lot of the greats, and he became my main voice teacher. So a lot of what I'm imparting to you today is his technique. So if you want to really impress someone and you want to stretch the truth a little bit, you can say that today you learned Lady Gaga's belting techniques, because that's what I'm going to teach you. And then I just started teaching on my own. I also am in training to be a music therapist, because I believe that the voice is the expression of your soul, and especially with songwriting. I know some of you guys are writing your own songs, and I think that's really awesome. So yeah, that is what I do. Um, I'm just going to dive right in. So let's dive into kind of basic vocal care. If you guys want to take notes or anything, that's totally fine, but I can also send this in an email after, Jason, if that's cool.
I'm also going to be recording this, so we'll have.
Or, awesome. And if you guys ever have any questions or thoughts, the chat, go ahead and pop it in the chat. I'll look at that periodically. For vocal care, a lot of people put, I think, too much emphasis in it, frankly. I think a lot of singers get really paranoid and use their scarves and think like, oh, I can't eat this or drink this because of my voice. If you just follow some basic rules, your voice will be okay. So obviously some food and drinks you want to avoid right before you sing. You want to avoid dairy. Dairy causes a lot of phlegm. You want to avoid caffeine. I'm sorry, that's a tough one for me, but it dries out your voice. You want to avoid alcohol. That would be another tough one for me, but it also dries out your voice. Sorry, little ones that are in here. You want to avoid kind of anything spicy, especially if you have acid reflux. I have acid reflux, and that causes a lot of phlegm. So those are some basic things that you want to avoid right before you sing. The day before, have a ball. You should be okay. You want to avoid kind of talking really loudly in an improper way at your gig. So if you're at a bar or wherever you're doing your gigs and there's music playing, there's music piping in, people are talking, what we tend to do, our ear tends to shut part of itself off. So we start to make up for that by talking louder. It's a physiological response that's been scientifically proven. So that's why sometimes if you notice you're out with your friends and you're talking loudly the next day, you're kind of hoarse. That means that you were speaking from your throat. So what I do that annoys my friends greatly is I talk in what I call my Kristen Chenoweth voice when I'm at a bar. I don't know if you guys know who Kristen Chenoweth is, but she sings through her nose a lot and she talks like this. So that's how I talk when I'm at a bar, and all my friends are like, oh God, here she is. We can't wait to listen to this total idiot. But the next day, I can sing, and they can't, so I win. So a really good way to kind of get into that annoying speaking voice is if you plug your nose, and you kind of try to sound a little nasal, and then you take either plug away, you're aiming your voice forward in a way that bypasses your vocal cords. So your vocal cords will close, but you're not slamming them together, which is what you want to avoid when you talk. So speaking, the way you speak is just as important as the way you sing, because we tend to sing the way we speak. So if you find that when you talk a lot, you're getting hoarse, I would re-examine how you speak. You can see a speech therapist. They can kind of tell you what you're doing wrong, but basically talking lightly and talking forward. If you're wearing glasses right now, if you aim your voice to where your glasses are, let's just do a couple stupid things together. So your glasses are on and try to go, hi, how are you? Hi, hey, hello. I love seeing all of you. It's wonderful. So I know that that can seem really manufactured and dumb. I totally get it, but it'll save your life and it'll increase the longevity of your voice. I'm not saying to talk like this on the phone or with your friends when you can hear each other, but it'll really go a long way. Kids, when you're at school yelling on the playground, try to yell from here. You'll get farther, actually. They'll hear you better, and you're not going to strain your voice. So this goes for bars and playgrounds. Exercise is very important for all of our lives, but it's especially important for your voice. I highly recommend yoga and swimming. They both help to increase your lung capacity. And I don't know if we have any weightlifters in the room, but any kind of, Julia, I see you. Any kind of exercise where you are exerting weight up this way tends to put a lot of strain on your neck. I can't think of any other exercise that does that other than weights, but if you start to kind of like push-ups, anything that you notice starts to put tension, you're a weightlifter. I know you are. adorable. Anything that puts tension on your neck, that will hurt your voice and it'll cause some bad habits. So we want to avoid exercises that are from here up. So anything that integrates full body, super wonderful for singing. Let's talk a little bit about sickness, because we all get sick. Hopefully we all do not get sick with COVID. That would be not good. But I have a couple tricks that are wonderful if you are sick and you have to sing on a gig. They are as follows. Those packets of Emergen-C that are vitamin C, holy cow, if you do that every 2 hours, it'll usually knock your sickness out. Wellness Formula is another really great herbal formula that they sell at health food stores, I think. Very good for you and all natural. There's a kind of tea, it's called throat coat tea or throat comfort tea. The active ingredient in it is marshmallow root, and it literally coats your throat without causing phlegm. I've chugged it in gallons before a gig when I've had laryngitis. Gig's gone fine. So I highly recommend anything with marshmallow root in it. I'm about to tell you the grossest drink in the world, but it works. It's apple cider vinegar, honey, lemon, a dash of cayenne pepper in warm water. It's for when you have phlegm, it'll clear it out. It tastes like jet fuel. I'm so sorry to recommend it to you, but it's really good for you, and it also will clear your cords if you have phlegm. My other tricks are sleeping with a humidifier is really useful, especially in the winter when your heat is running. If you notice, if you wake up and you have a dry throat or you have a cough, a dry cough, pop a humidifier in your room. It can be cool mist or warm mist. You do want to clean it a lot because molds can accumulate and you don't obviously want that, but humidifiers are life-saving. The other thing that's life-saving is a steamer. And this is great for your face, so it's like a little facial, but also you can, I'm gonna do this, you can inhale the steam and it literally gets you moist on your vocal cords. So sometimes when you drink water, well, not sometimes, all the time. When you drink water, your vocal cords close so that you don't drown. And steaming can get moisture right directly to your vocal cords. So this is especially useful if you have a dry voice, if you've had a long, rough night the night before and you need to sing the next day. I do a lot of wedding band gigs, sometimes 3 in a row, and they're long. They're 5 hours long, and it's all Aretha Franklin and all really big. And I'll steam and I'll be fine the next day. So I highly recommend getting a steamer.
Okay.
A neti pot. That's okay. A neti pot is another amazing thing for if you have allergies and if you have a lot of sinus infections. So I highly recommend this. You shove it up your nose and you squeeze and everything comes out the other end. And it feels weird the first time, but then it feels great. You're gonna love it. So those are my little tips and tricks for sickness. And I want to talk a little bit about singing into a microphone before we get into the interactive part of everything. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. Does anyone have any questions so far about any of this? No? Okay, all right. So singing with 2 different kinds of microphones. This is a condenser mic. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir because I know the school is awesome. But a condenser mic, the way you want to sing in a recording booth is very different from the way that you want to sing live with a live mic. Condenser mics pick you up. I love how I made it too tall. Condenser mics pick you up at this level. Live mics pick you up at this level. So there's quite a bit of range. But you want to do the same thing for both when it comes to hitting high notes and when it comes to belting. So I have a pop filter. These are really great if you don't have one at home and you want to do some at-home recording. If you are singing a high note, like wee, you want to tend to take a step back so that your mic doesn't peak. But if you're starting to get into these deeper tones like chest voice, like hello, can you hear me? You can be this close to your condenser mic because you want to filter everything forward. When you're live, that mic needs to be here-ish. You don't want to touch the mic with your mouth, although they do make microphone cleaners, which I highly recommend, especially nowadays. But you don't, a lot of times I see people at karaoke be like, no one can hear me. And they're singing like right out here. They're like, hello, can you hear me? And they're like, no one can hear me. This microphone is like an ice cream cone. You're not going to get the ice cream if it's over here. You're going to get it if it's right here. So you want to sing right into the ice cream cone like you're about to take a bite of it. Unless you're crazy belting or singing a super high note, and then you want to pull it back. Hey! You want to pull it back so that you don't, sound like you're yelling. But if you're soft and you're in these kind of folky tones, don't be afraid to bring that mic close to your mouth and try your best to filter your sound forward. So let's all kind of pretend you have a mic. Let's pretend it's a live mic or a condenser. It's the same situation. So pretend you have your mic and try to do a little Adele moment and filter it forward and go, hello. Yeah. So you should feel those vibrations right in your face. If you're not feeling a vibration in your face, we'll talk about that during warm-ups. But if you're high, let's try a little high moment. You're pulling the mic back and you're going, woo. Yeah. So you should feel scientifically the direction of your voice is going in the opposition of where your mic is going. So it's woo, that way. But if you're soft, good, I love it. Oh, you guys are doing great. If you're soft and loud, hey, we're right there. Same with the condenser mic. Producers will help you with the condenser mic, but it just should be a generic thought of forward versus back. Cool? This is here. If you guys have any questions about mics, I can always pull it back. So let's sing a little bit. Should we? I think we should. We're going to talk a little bit about placement, and then I'm going to throw some warm-ups at you. So chest voice, the examples that I can think of that are the best chest voice people are people like Toni Braxton, people like Adele has an excellent chest voice. So I'm going to share my screen with you really fast, and we're going to look at an example here. Boop. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I'm sorry. Why didn't I do it? Share computer sound, it's already on. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a quick example of what chest voice, really healthy chest voice should sound like. And watch what she does with her mic.
My position, the cause that makes a special. I have a moment before I go.
So that was a quick moment, but I wanted you guys to be able to do it yourself. So a quick way to recognize your potential chest voice is go ahead and take your hand and put it on your chest. And it's almost like you're singing, whispering to yourself. And I just want you to hum so that you can feel the vibration in your chest bone. And then we're going to open it up to a ma. So you don't need to push. It's a lighter but very dark sound. So it should sound ma, and you can vibrate there. So men, go as low as you need, but women, try a little lower than you normally would sing. Ma. And you can carry that tone up. Notice when you open up, it's okay to sound a little airy. If you don't sound airy, what you're going to sound like is an old opera singer. And that's not what we want for pop and rock, right? We don't want ma. If you try that, I notice that hurts my voice. It's unnatural. And we want that kind of smoky, full, deep sound, right? So I'm going to send you a specific chest voice warm-up, but people like Adele, Toni Braxton, Anita Baker's chest voice is A++. And I'm going to write these down so that I send you some examples of these too. Okay. So that's chest voice. It's very different from your normal mixed voice. A lot of teachers teach this differently, but I teach them as separate so that you can think of 3 different areas: chest voice, mixed voice, head and falsetto. So your mixed voice is exactly where your speaking voice is. It shouldn't be any different than your speaking voice. So I'm going to show you an example of someone who I think has a pretty darn fantastic mixed belt. So I think you all know. Oop, I've lost everyone. I think you all know who she is. Okay. It just goes on and on and on for days. I'm a huge Ariana Grande fan. I think she's absolutely phenomenal. But what a lot of people don't realize is when people say she's belting, she's actually mixing. She has a phenomenal mixed belt range. It's strong, so it sounds like a belt on recording, but really she's a killer mixer. And you can hear the difference between her mix and her head voice. For example, her head voice would be that, right now I'm in a state of mind. It's soft, it's high. But when she does it the second chorus, right now I'm in a state of mind, that's mixing. If it were belting, this is what it would sound like. I'm gonna be really vulnerable in front of all of you. Right now I'm in a state of mind. It's too much. It's too much. My neighbor hates me. That's full chest belting. We don't want that sound, guys. It sounds like you're yelling. And it's the beautiful thing about proper vocal training is the gift that you give yourself is you're singing with a complete voice that goes up and down and doesn't force something. When you're doing that, you're also not forcing it on your audience. Have you ever heard someone who's so abrasively loud that it doesn't sound good? I have, and it's painful to my ears. So we have to, I don't care for it. So we have to mix our voices because it protects our voices and it protects our listeners' ears. So mixing is actually one of the more difficult things to teach and learn, but once you get it, you get it. And I have a lot of techniques for this. So we're going over to my piano, and what I'd love for you guys to do, gentlemen, I'm so sorry. I'm going to start with the ladies really fast. You guys hang tight. So ladies, we're going to start actually here on a B scale, and I'm just going to have you guys go nay, 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 nay. It's forward. It's a little in your nose. It's not nay, nay. It's not that. That's gross. Nay, 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 nay. If you plug your nose and you don't sound nasal, you're doing it right. So let's try that. So I'm just gonna have you guys go. Nay, 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 nay. 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 Here's where it starts to change a little bit on a B flat for most women. I'm a mezzo. If you're a soprano, it'll start to change on a C. So we need to modulate a little bit, and we need to bring a little lighter head voice in it. So we're gonna go, where am I? I lost my stuff. There we are. Nay, 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 nay. That top note, it sounds a little lighter, but once you put a little breath under it, it won't. Nay, 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 nay. Starts to sound okay once you put a little more breath in it. Men, I haven't forgotten about you. You're gonna go down here, do the same thing. Ladies, if you want, you can sing this up an octave. Nay, 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 nay. Right where everyone's glasses would be. Nay, 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 what I'm doing is no substitute for actual voice lessons because I don't know everyone's individual voices. I don't know your ranges. I don't know what you're struggling with. I'm just trying to give you a basic overview of how to train 3 layers of your voice. And again, I'm going to send these warm-up tapes. So that's for mixed voice. Now we're getting into head and falsetto. Your head voice is a more operatic, classical, full, ooh, usually with a lot of vibrato. Men, it would be ooh, ooh, light and feeling it in your head. Falsetto would be using less air, so it sounds more airy. So, that's falsetto. Yeah. So just think, if you want to know the difference, falsetto sounds more airy, head voice sounds more full. So I'm just going to throw another example at you of, I love this guy. He's in my videos all the time. He teaches the way I do. His name's Tyler Wysong. You can trust his YouTube videos. So.
Falsetto, the vocal cords thin out, but they're not adducted at the back, so you're going to get some air leakage and hiss in the sound. So it'll be like this. It can sound cool stylistically, but it's not super efficient way to sing. It's not always about efficiency when we're talking about style, but that's for another video.
I wanted to save that point because vocal training, a lot of vocal teachers will be like, well, that's not technically correct. But on a record, sounds pretty darn good. And I'm more of a, what sounds good on the record kind of person. So it's okay to have that airy quality if it's the effect that you want. Phoebe Bridgers, that's why I put her on the playlist actually, because she has really, oh no, could you not hear? Could everyone hear that? You could? Okay, I'm sorry.
Quiet there for a second, but it seems to be back right now. I think we're okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, Phoebe Bridgers is the reason I put her on the Spotify list is because she has an amazing, beautiful, folky falsetto. Okay, so for falsetto and head voice, what I like to do is we're gonna go a little high and we're gonna try to go ooh, like a sigh. Gentlemen, you can go down an octave and go ooh, really light. So I'll try to hit both of you. Ooh. And then we go up. Now, as you're getting higher, if you're finding, I feel tight here, the remedy is to have a yawn in the back of your throat. So you can kind of go, woo, like, woo, Mr. Bill. That's a really old reference, and I'm sorry I made it. But if you think like you have space, like you're yawning, that's going to create the ability for you to hit these higher notes. So let's keep going. If you think you're tight, try to loosen up by creating more space. We're just going to do one more. So I'm going to include more warm-ups for you guys, but I just wanted to hit those 3 main points to show you what it should feel like. Singing is about feeling, not listening, because we don't hear ourselves accurately, right? Have you ever heard yourself on the phone and been like, who is that person? We do not hear ourselves right at all. So we have to rely on how we feel. So chest voice, just hit it again. Lower, sultry, mixed voice, nay, 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 and your cheekbones, head falsetto. Ooh. They're almost like having 3 different voices, but what vocal training does is build all 3 of them together to create ease and one beautiful voice. Any questions at this point? Anything at all? Doesn't have to be about what we just talked about. No?
Yeah, it looks like we do.
I do.
Oh, great.
Just a quick one. You've been using the word belting a few times. I'm just not sure exactly what you mean by that.
I'm so glad you brought it up because it's next on my outline. So we're gonna, you knew, Luke, you knew. So belting is different than everything I've just showed you. And I'm gonna show you an example of my favorite kind of belting, and that it would be my girl, Lady Gaga. So let me just share with you. Okay, here we go.
I fear myself. I'm off the deep end. Watch as I dive in. I'll never leave the ground. Crash through the surface where they can't hurt us. We're far from the shallow now.
So what I love about that is she's wearing this choker. And you should, if she was doing it improperly, you would see veins hitting that diamond choker. And I would be very worried at home about it. Because when people belt improperly, you can see, I'm, again, very vulnerable today. You can see a turtleneck. Hi, I'm a turtle. And when they belt improperly, it comes from your throat. So I'm gonna do a bad example of belting. That's all going forward. It's horrific. It's horrific. And it's all coming from my throat. What Lady Gaga does, and what amazing belters, Beyonce, Whitney Houston, these women who were able to have long, sustained, beautiful careers, they think back. So really quick, I want to teach you guys how to do this really easily at home. Pretend you have your voice in your hands. Here's your voice. It's lovely, it's wonderful, it's yours. And I want you to yell, hey, backward. Hey! There's space in the back of your throat, not unlike your falsetto, but you're thinking, hey! My favorite thing to do, fabulous, everybody looks great. Try not, I'm gonna make a note of this, try not to go, hey! What's happening here? Tension. We don't want tension. It should be really like, ah, hey, how's it going? Ah, really light backward yell. So that's how she does. Off the deep end, watch as I dive in. That's how she does that, and it doesn't sound like what I just did previously. So we're not going to do it on that because, guys, that's a really high note. I'm not going to make you do that. But there's an awesome warm-up that I'm going to include that goes, whoa, whoa. So ladies, just try that for me and think backward. Whoa, whoa. Should not feel any tension here. Luke, for men, I would have you guys, whoa, whoa. Sorry, I can't go that low. But it's a bigger sound because you're bouncing your voice off the back of your head, and that is what I would call belting. So you're not mixing, right? The mix is, nay, I'm at the deep end. That's a mix belt, but I'm off the deep end is a big belt that way. Did that answer your question? Awesome, awesome. Belting and mixed voice are like, I could spend 6 years on here with you guys, and I could talk about it for 6 years. But I'm just gonna send you guys some very basic exercises about it.
Emily, can I ask you a question, please?
I want you to.
Thank you. I'm with the belting there. When you go for that, are you engaging a lot more than with your diaphragm to get that power?
So that's a fantastic question, and that was also on my outline.
Ah, sorry.
No, I keep referencing the outline, it's stupid. What I'm doing when I'm belting is I'm thinking about support. I'm not thinking so much about the air I'm taking in. I think a lot of people concentrate on breath work, and I think it's a headache that nobody really needs to think about. We all breathe. We all know how to breathe. You take in your air. The concept of support, how I teach it, I'm gonna have you guys see my pants, is where your pants are hitting, and I'm wearing a little bit higher waisted, if you think about if your pants are hitting below your belly button, if you're wearing lower pants and you're wearing a belt, if you were to cinch that belt over one loop, you can feel your lower abs constrict. Let's all try that. So you're gonna breathe in, your belly will expand naturally, and then you're gonna go with your lower abs. Right? You should feel a little constriction. I just want to keep saying it's below your belly button. It's not above, because that is causing tension between my ribs. This is where your actual support is. Your diaphragm is up here, but it does all the work on its own when you breathe. It lowers naturally. When you're belting, let's try that. That's a really good idea, June. When you're doing the whoa, whoa, I want you to take an invisible belt, go ahead and put it in your loops, and your pants are too big. You've lost weight. So you're gonna pull your belt over one cinch, and you're just gonna go, whoa, whoa. Then you can try one higher. Whoa, whoa. The good news about that, when you're doing this, June, is that everything's going in the same direction. So you don't need to be like, what am I doing? You're throwing your voice back in that gaga way, hey, but you're also cinching a little bit of your support the same way. So it should feel pretty natural, you know? I'll say something that might be a little vulgar, and I'm sorry for the kids on. Another way to feel this is to squeeze your butt, like you're trying not to poop your pants. And ladies, you can squeeze also. So that's another way to feel your lower abs. Sometimes we're not very connected to the different parts of our abdominal muscles, but if you have that little perennial squeeze, you can feel that if you're not feeling it with the belt situation. Does that answer your question, June?
Thank you very much. Perfect.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. That was a really good question. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? No?
Don't stop. Keep going. This is great.
Okay. All right. Okay. I feel that I just feel like I'm just yammering on and on and on. Let's see. Okay. So along those lines, let's keep going with that. Along those lines, you can do breath exercises that not only increase your lung capacity and help you with breathing, but they also help build your support muscles. So my favorite one, I'm gonna see my pants again. My favorite one is by breathing in and feeling your ribs expand this way for 3 beats. So let's try that. We're just gonna go 3 beats. And now you're gonna go out. So there's 2 things at work here. When you breathe in, I find it much easier to concentrate on where my ribs are going. I had a teacher who talked about the diaphragm and yada, 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 yada. I can't see or feel my diaphragm, so that didn't work for me. Mentally, that did not work. What did work for me was taking my hands and putting them on my ribs, not my waist, my ribs. And when I breathe in, having them go out to where my elbows are. So let's try that, and you should feel like they're wings. Yeah, everyone looks good. Everyone's chest naturally expanded. You don't want to breathe from your chest because there's no air in your chest, right? So when you breathe, you don't want to see this. That's not helpful. And this is constricting your throat, causing a lot of tension. So what you want to do is you want this relaxed. This has nothing to do with breathing. And you want to breathe in your ribs. So let's try it again. Just go ahead and try to breathe in 3 beats. 2, 3, and then let it out on a Now it becomes a fun game when you time yourself to see how long you can go with this. I had a teacher, my first teacher made me go 60 seconds. It took me like forever because I was 16 and I couldn't do it. So, but if you can get up to a minute, that's awesome. Another way to practice this, to kind of talk about your abs expanding is lay down and take a book and put it right below your belly button. And when you breathe, you can see the book go up. So if you think about the book going, and then gradually going down, that gives you a good visual. Breath work is really challenging. And there are a lot of thoughts from different voice teachers about breath work. I like to simplify it. It should be more about what's coming out of your mouth than what's coming in your mouth. So don't overthink it too much, is what I would say. The key components are when you breathe in, your ribs go out. And when you sing, your small lower abs just tuck a little bit. And it's okay for your ribs to go in when you're singing. That they're naturally going to do that. Your lungs are deflating. A lot of teachers will be like, stand up like this. That's not helpful. It's causing tension. It's crazy. So someone who explains this extremely well online, her name is Cheryl Porter. Is she big where you guys are? Have you heard of Cheryl Porter? She's big in Italy. Okay. She's an amazing online teacher. And I would say people you can trust online are Cheryl Porter, especially for breathing exercises, Tyler Wysong, especially for mixed voice, and men, I can't recommend him enough. It's nice to have a male voice when you're a man, right? Natalie Weiss is an amazing voice teacher. She has some coaching snippets online, great. And Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan's another one who he is especially trained with vocal technique stuff. And I would trust these people. There's a lot of crap out there, but these are people you can trust who won't ruin your voice. Any questions? Any more questions?
Do you mind if I ask you another one?
Yeah, I don't mind at all, please.
When you were saying about the ribs when we sing, yeah, that they'll go back in, but in the exercises, when we're out, are we aiming to keep the ribs out to build up stuff?
I love your questions. I love it. Yes. So here's the thing though. This is a tough question to answer. Your ribs are naturally going to go in. What you don't want to have happen is go ahead and put your hands back on your ribs. Take a big breath and blow it all out like you're blowing out a birthday candle. You see how they went down and in? So now just try your best to stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Stay erect this way, you know, naturally. You just don't want to tighten up. So now go ahead and try this thing. See how they're not collapsing like, right? They're staying open kind of like an accordion, but of course they are naturally going to go in because it's like you're deflating a balloon. Did that answer your question? Awesome. Cool. Any more questions?
I had a question.
Yes.
The thing is, I know about the mixing voice, the head voice, and the belting voice.
Right.
And there's this other voice that sounds way more horizontal than vertical. And I was wondering what kind of voice that was, where I would just open my mouth and just sing.
Could you give me an example of it? If you're uncomfortable singing, I would never put anyone on the spot like that. That's horrifying. But what singer embodies that voice?
I don't really know a singer, but I know that one of my singing teachers at one point made me sing like that, and it just hurt my voice a lot. Like it just, it was terrible.
So horizontal, I'm about to be a total idiot. Are you ready? Is this horizontal? This is horizontal, right? This is vertical.
Yeah, that's
Right?
it.
Okay, cool. Jason, go ahead and sell this and be like, look at this dumb idiot doing all these things. So horizontal singing, from what I'm gathering would not have a lot of space in the back of your throat, right? Would you feel very tight in the back of your throat?
Yeah, because whenever I sing vertically, I feel like I have a hole behind my head where my voice can go. And that's my last singing teacher that gave me that information, that I could just imagine a thread going through my mouth, and I have a hole behind my head. and that made me change the way I sang from horizontally to vertically. But I was just wondering what that horizontal voice was.
Well, it sounds terrible. I'm not not to disparage another teacher, but Lily, listen to your speaking voice. Whoa, there is a rich depth of tone in your speaking voice. And if you sing this way, go ahead and do this for me. Go, oh my God.
Oh my God.
What are we losing? What are we losing just from your speaking voice? You're losing a lot of chest tone. You have a lot of natural chest tone in your speaking voice, a lot of colors. But if you're talking like this, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe for some people, you know what that is, Lily? It's like a very common musical theater technique to teach that way, to sing this way. I'm trying to think of, okay, let's take that song. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. Yuck, yuck, yuck. That kind of singing was very popular in the 40s, but it's not popular now. Some people might still sing like that. I'm trying to think of who sings like that, actually. I'm going to think about it and I'm going to email. I'm going to be like, this is who I was thinking about.
All right.
But if something, the easy answer for you is, if something wasn't working for you and you were in pain, that is the wrong technique for you.
Okay, so I never have to be in pain or anything.
You
Just saying.
should never be in pain. No. No.
That sounds obvious though.
Well, not only does it sound obvious, but that is not your fault that you thought that was okay, right? There are a lot of teachers out there who are like, it's okay if it hurts. Guys, it's never okay if it hurts. If it hurts, something's wrong. What do they teach you in exercising? If you're doing push-ups and something hurts, you should stop, because if you don't stop, you're going to cause an injury. Your voice is a muscle. Same thing goes for your voice. Your voice is the tiniest little muscle. And if you are singing in a way that is causing you pain, that's going to cause lasting damage. Let's look at, have you guys heard of nodules? Do you know what nodules are? Okay. If you don't, that's okay. I'm going to just briefly describe it. A voice nodule is like a little zit that lives on your vocal cord, and it does not go away. And the story of Julie Andrews, this is like my worst fear come to life. Julie Andrews was singing so much that she ended up getting a node on her vocal cords. So she had to go get surgery, and the surgeon messed up, and he nicked her vocal cord, and now she can't sing. Her whole life, she won't be able to sing. It's literally like the nightmare of my life. I would rather lose a limb. So that's terrible. Adele is a similar situation. She didn't have a node, but she had a polyp, which is different. Medically, it's different, but it's caused by the same thing. It was caused by singing incorrectly and too much for too long. She had a new laser treatment done, which is a little safer, but I heard her sing like a week after she had that surgery, and I was like, it's different. It's different. If you listen to her album 19, and then you listen to her newest album, you can kind of tell there's something different. And it's because she had some damage. So I love Adele. I hope she gets the right training, and I hope she has the right doctors. But it's very, if it hurts, stop. If it hurts, stop. Because you can cause some real lasting damage that you don't want. And that goes for speaking too. I can't emphasize that enough. If you're talking and you're like, ow, stop, go to a speech therapist, re-examine your voice, change the way you speak. It's worth it. It's really worth it. Yeah, good question. Any other questions? I love it.
I have one.
Great.
So I'm the type of person who both likes rock and musical theater.
Great.
And I don't know if it's kind of stupid, but what's the difference between vibrato and belting? Because I've noticed that, like in Dear Evan Hansen, the main actor Ben Platt, he's very strong with his vibrato.
Yeah.
And the difference.
That's a great question. Not a stupid question at all. So vibrato is what happens. Pretend that my hands are your vocal cords. You have two of them, and they close when you sing. What vibrato does is it makes your chords go like this, boop, 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 like a little heartbeat. So it's a shake in your voice. So this is no vibrato. This is vibrato. You can hear a shake. The easiest way to get vibrato, let's all look really stupid. Clasp your hands and try to go. Okay, so you can hear your voice shake. Now, obviously, Nat, you don't want to do that when you're singing musical theater or rock. But think of a rock vibrato would be Freddie Mercury, one of the best rock vibratos, if not the best rock vibrato, I think. He has, you know, think of the, what's my favorite one? Right? There's that shake. It almost sounds operatic, but because he's such a badass, it sounds great. So that's vibrato. Belting, you don't need vibrato to belt. You can have vibrato to belt. Belting is just a way of amplifying your voice to make it loud. Vibrato is a stylistic thing you put on your voice. So belting without vibrato would be like, hi! Belting with vibrato would be, hi! Do you hear that shake?
Yeah.
You're right, Ben Platt belts with a lot of vibrato. He also always belts with his eyes closed. Why are his
Yeah,
eyes?
that's true.
They're always closed. I love him, but like, let us see your eyes. You have really nice eyes. Anyway, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you. Any more questions? I love questions.
Can we talk about the pitch? Because that is definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So pitch is something that everyone needs to learn. And I want to start off by talking about pitch by saying the term tone deaf has now been scientifically disproven. Everyone can learn pitch. Now, it might be harder for some than it is for others, but there's no such thing as tone deaf. No such thing. So here's how you can improve your pitch. I'm gonna bring you over here a little bit. If you have a piano or a guitar, whatever instrument you play or want to play, whatever, or you can get, even if you don't, get a piano app on your iPad or phone. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick a note that is in your range and you're gonna hit it and you're gonna try to match it. So, what you're not gonna do is you're not gonna worry about how it sounds. Don't worry about vibrato, don't worry about placement. You're working specifically on pitch. You know what, actually, I wrote down the thing I wanted you to do it on, and it was a ma, I think. Yeah, it was a ma. So if you can hear this note, listen to it. Ma. And you do that over and over and on all the different notes forever and a day. And what you're looking for is, if you're hearing this, am I on pitch? Good. Most of you said, well, some of you didn't say it, but that's fine. But all of you said no if you said something, which is right. Was I sharp or flat? Flat. Yep. How about now I'm sharp. Dead in the middle, right? I know this sounds so obvious. Like, just play a note and sing a ma to it. Like, what did you pay for? But I swear to God, it's the one pitch exercise that has worked every single time with everyone. And if you do this for like 5 minutes a day, your pitch will improve significantly. The other thing about pitch that a lot of people don't talk about is sometimes we choose bad keys for ourselves. If you pick a song that's too high and you feel like you're straining, you will more than likely sing flat because you're reaching up for something. You can transpose your songs. I I think, Jason, can they transpose their songs? Are they transposing?
Within reason, yes, of course.
Okay. So don't kill yourself to sing something in Whitney Houston's range. There's no need for it. There's no need. I bump a ton of my wedding songs down. And it's hilarious to me because I get singers coming up to me all the time being like, wow, how did you sing for 5 hours? And I was like, I bumped everything 2 steps down. That's how I did it. Because then you're not straining, you know? The other way you'll stay on pitch is if you use your support, like what June was asking. If you use your belt support, let's try that on the pitch exercise. So here's one that the ladies and the gentlemen can do. Ma. If you're pulling in that little cinch belt, ma, that gives you an extra added bonus of support that's holding your breath so that you don't go sharp or flat. People have pitch problems for 2 reasons. One, because they can't hear the pitch and they need to ear train. That's when there's also all kinds of online ear training stuff. If you just Google ear training games and exercises, there's a bazillion things online and it's really great. Or this dumb pitch exercise. It's so stupid, but that will train your ear too. The other reason people go flat or sharp is due to lack of breath and they're running out of air. And so they tend to go flat. When you run out of air, you tend to go flat. So you need to plan ahead extra breaths. If you're hearing yourself go flat, be like, where can I sneak in a breath so that I can control what's going on with my pitch? And the last reason people go flat or sharp is lack of support. And so that will really help you with pitch stuff. I know that that's like a really short explanation on pitch, but the majority of pitch work is done in your own home. I can't teach anyone how to have better pitch unless you do the work at home and really work on it. Another thing that I suggest is start harmonizing with bands that you love, like Queen. Put on your favorite Queen song and do not sing Freddie Mercury's part. Sing somebody else's part and try to harmonize. You have to practice harmonizing because if you don't, you're going to get in your band and someone's singing the melody and you're also singing the melody, but you're not supposed to be singing the melody, but the melody's in your ear. So you got to practice stuff like that too, right? Practice staying on your part. It's all at-home practice stuff. Did that answer your question, Jason? I know it was brief.
You know, completely. And one of my next questions was about harmony. And, you know, this is one of the things that I know so many of our singers struggle with in the like, you know, locking onto the other person's part and how to kind of, if there are tricks or tips to focus on your own isolated, you know, harmony part versus the others, because it's so easy to slip into someone else's part. But, you know, it just comes back to pitch work, I guess.
It comes back to pitch work. It also comes back to working your part so much that your voice can't sing another part. Repetition of the harmony without the melody. Like what I do, if I have 2 students who are doing a duet, the first thing I do is I say, do not listen to this duet. Here's your own part on the piano. Learn this part. Go, be free. And then they come together and already it becomes challenging for them to go to the other part because they learned the other part first. So that's another thing when you're songwriting and you know you're going to take over the harmony, try to block out the melody and be like, that's your part, but this is my part, and go over here. This is a dumb thing, but it's true. Space has a lot to do with it too. If you're right next to someone and they're singing loudly, that you're really setting yourself up for a hard time. But let's say your guitar player is singing the melody and you're playing bass and you're back here, that's easier for you. That's a lot easier. So you can, the ability to hear yourself can't be overstated enough. You got to be able to hear your own voice. Otherwise there's interference and it's tough. This also helps, you know, putting your hand on that little tiny cartilage. There's a reason Mariah Carey is always doing this. This is where her runs are going and she's listening to herself, right? So that is very helpful too, to just put it in your own head. Yeah. Julia, did you have a question?
I have a question about harmonies.
Right.
So yeah, you talked about like isolating the part that you have to do and then not be distracted by the other. I get that, but what I struggle with harmony is inventing them. Like when you're writing a song or developing the melodies and stuff, the main melody exists or whatever, or it's coming along, and then somebody, the coach, says, "Why don't we try to throw in some harmonies?" And I'm just like, how do you invent the harmony? Like what sounds good with in parallel to that? And it's really hard sometimes to figure that out, I find.
Totally.
Do you have any tips on that?
Yes, I do, totally. Unfortunately, my tip is to do a little music theory education, which would not hurt your songwriting at all. And I'm not talking like go get a degree in it because it's very boring. But I will say, if you know the rules, then you know how to break them, which I think becomes a lot easier. So, for example, if you're looking at a piano, Julia, do you play an instrument?
Oh, no, okay. I just sing.
That's okay.
I have a piano at home, so I can use it to practice singing with, though.
That's all I need. That's all you need. That's fantastic. So if you were to say, let's say your melody is a D, right? Hey, here's some things that sound good. A third above a D, which is an F sharp. Hey, the usual melody, I'm sorry, back up. The usual harmony is a third above the melody.
Okay.
It's a little challenging for me to tell you what third, because if you're in D minor, it's going to be F and not F sharp. Mm-hmm. This is where music theory knowledge is helpful. Okay. But in general, what you can do, if you don't know any music theory, is take your piano and count 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps above the root note, right? So here's my D, then I'm gonna go E sharp. D sharp sounds bad, not gonna do that. Does E sound good? No. That sounds okay if you're in D minor, but let's say you're in major. That sounds like it works together. So actually, this is great, Julia, because you actually just taught me something in the ability to
great.
It's fantastic. Don't worry so much about thirds, fourths, fifths, and stuff unless you want to get into the music theory aspect of it. How you should write your harmonies is find that melodic note you're trying to harmonize with on the piano and play above the note, different notes, and see what sounds good with it. That's how you should write your harmonies. It's painstaking. It's a process, but I think it's helpful. Like, that's not great, right? But that's great. That's a fifth.
It's nice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the standard rule is harmonies are usually a third or a fifth above whatever your melody is.
Okay.
And if you don't want to, I understand if you don't want to take the time to learn what thirds and fifths are above whatever, just go by ear. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, you should steal. Steal other people's harmonies, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
If a melody is familiar, if you're hearing like, that sounds like this Crosby, Stills, Nash Young song, snag a harmony from it, you know? I steal a lot of stuff. Everybody steals. Every good artist steals, right? Cool, good question. Yes. I'm sorry, Mark.
It's Michelle. Sorry, I was just trying to find my unmute button there. I have a question. I don't have a fabulously wide range, so sometimes we transpose songs lower for me, so I don't have to strain to hit high notes. But what happens is then the bottom drops out. Are there exercises to do to increase the sustain of your lower notes? Because a lot of people concentrate on the high, but I need to get lower sometimes, and I can't keep the volume up, and it starts to get gravelly like this, and it doesn't sound right.
Yes. Would you be very brave and do a little singing with me now? Because I want to show you how to fix that.
Okay, I'll try.
You got this. I yelled in front of all you guys. Yeah, you got this. The problem that happens when people try to sing lower is they go lower in their voice box. So what happens is, if I'm going, I have nowhere to go because I'm trying to go low this way.
Right.
You actually need to think up when you're going low. So take your hands for me. Everybody can do this actually. Take your hands for me and put them right here. And I want you to kind of lift your cheekbones a little bit, like I'm giving you a little baby Botox. There we go. Yeah. And now just try to go. Na. Good. Okay. So don't worry about it. You did great just then. So if you want, everybody mute and go. Na, 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 but keep singing here. Na, na, na. Men, this works wonders if you're not a bass. So basically, I know I'm like throwing that answer at you. There are exercises where you can increase your range, but you need to do them in this way. Otherwise, you're just going to be going na, 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 na. And I'm going to lose voice, right? I'm just going to lose it. But if you go na, 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 that's a low D. Na, na. If you think here and like you're whispering, ma. It won't sound full probably because my guess is maybe you're an alto. Are you an alto? Okay. Yeah. So a low D is low for anybody. The example I can think of is Halo by Beyonce when she goes, remember those walls I built, didn't even make a sound. You know, when she goes that low, she's right here. I can't go that low. She's right here. So if you're struggling going low, think actually like your voice is higher up here because that increases your range more. But standard exercises that will increase your range are scales. Very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Da, 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 da. Just trying to get lower and lower and experiment and see, oh, that was easier for me to hit if I thought this. So yeah, you want to warm up as high as you can and as low as you can every day, if you can. And that will increase your range for sure, for sure, for sure. That answer your question? Cool. I'm trying to think if I missed something. Did I miss something? I had this outline. No, I think I hit. Does anyone have something, a section of a song or an artist that they love that they're like, how do they do that? Or how can I do this one section of a song? This is really hard for me. Or anything like that. I'll try to answer.
That's a no.
No?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's in songs where the melody or whatever, where you're switching from either chest to mixed voice or mixed to high, and you're to be able to make those transitions smooth, yes, I find can be really challenging, especially at volume. I mean, it's very easy for my voice to break at when making that switch. And I'm wondering if there's a way to train yourself to smooth that out.
Yes, there is. So I think you actually even use the right terminology. It's called bridges. There's different bridges in everyone's voice. That's why there's division of like alto, soprano, mezzo soprano, bass, baritone. Those voice types have different bridges. I don't love to use that, especially for you young people, because your voices do not fully develop until you're in your 30s. So young people, if you're like, I want to be a soprano, you keep dreaming that dream because you could be a soprano. We don't know yet. So for adults, and myself included, I'm a mezzo. So my first bridge is A-B, A-B-C. Sorry. That bridge is where I need to think, okay, I'm switching from like chest mix to mix head. So it's an actual bridge transition that you can work on with warm-ups. My favorite warm-up to do this on includes like an octave and a half. If you warm up on octave and a half stuff, you'll notice those bridges start to smooth out. So an example of that would be, if you can bubble, if you can't, you can hum it. And then full voice, what you're talking about with volume, I like to do it on a gee, 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 gee. In the beginning, you'll be like, I've never hated a woman more than this woman who taught me this exercise, because it sounds horrible. It'll sound, you'll hear your breaks. You'll hear your breaks and you'll be like, boo. But the only way to get through your breaks is to practice them. It's the only way. So, for example, something like, let's just take it slowly, like, gee, gee, gee. If I were to go, gee, 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 that's full voice and it's painful. I had to start mixing one note earlier. So, gee, gee, gee. All of a sudden, that transition's a little easier. Think of it kind of like if your bridge has steps to it, you're not gonna jump over the steps. You're gonna step on the step to get to the bridge. So how, the quickest answer for you to work on music that you're working on right now, examine whatever note is before where you're breaking or where your bridge is, and start to transition on that note. Not on the note you're having trouble with. Start to transition earlier, because then things go smoother, right? It kind of makes sense in like a scientific way, but the long answer to just have that not even be a thought in your head is to warm up through your bridges. And I'll include, I'm writing all this down. I will include a warm up that specifically addresses that. So it's gonna be this octave and a half thing. Does that answer your question? Yeah, and just so you know, I've been studying voice forever, and that is something I work on every day of my life, every day. Because the second I stop, I lose it. So that's everyone's vocal struggle. Everyone's vocal struggle is, that's my bridge, how do I maneuver it? So you're not alone in that. Everyone struggles with that. But there's ways to make it easier.
I've got two questions.
Yes.
I'm just gonna, I'm gonna represent somebody else. It's funny. I was sitting here thinking, what singers do I really like that I want to reference and get some ideas on? And the first thing that pops in my head is Tom Waits. Second is Matt Berninger or Behringer, whatever it is, from The National. Obviously, voice. When I sing along with songs, there's like I'm hopefully after this lesson I'm going to have a much larger range, but at the moment I have this like horrible 5-note range, so I can sing like one artist, and it seems to be Tom Waits and Matt Behringer for The National. But Matt, who's also on the call, asked, is there a way to kind of get that? He calls it a growl. We all know that Tom Waits got there through whiskey, but like if are there other ways to like get that sort of color in a safe way that adds a lot of interesting character to your voice?
So there is. And I do want to preface this by saying that I love Tom Waits. The man has never sung correctly in his life. I don't know how he still has a voice. There are certain people that I'm like, I don't know what you're doing and how this has worked for you for so long. They're an anomaly. Tom Waits and Michael Bolton are the two men that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, they sing so wrong. I can't even tell you how wrong they sing, but they sound fantastic. And actually the guy from The National sing, he does not sing correctly, but there is a way to get it done. And has anyone ever heard of Melissa Cross? Does that name ring a bell for anybody? I'm going to put her in the chat because, okay, she became famous. She's known as the Scream Queen. And what she does is she does vocal lessons for screamo bands, bands that tour, bands that do, we're talking like gouarish kind of like those kind of bands. She teaches them how to tour and sing 7 nights a week and not lose their voice. So I actually took 3 lessons from her because I was like, what is this? I want to know how to teach it. She has this exercise that I will teach you now. And you know what? I'll include it. We're going to include it on the Warm tape. So it's called a cry meow. And basically, you're going to start with a vocal fry, but light. So this is the wrong way. That's like the girl from The Ring that comes out of the TV and she's really scary. You need to think of it lighter, like a whisper. So try to go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to add some volume to it. So you're going to go, meow, meow. I can't believe all these things are doing. It's fantastic. So it should sound growl, 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 meow. And what you're doing, you shouldn't feel it in your throat. It should feel like weirdly here, meow, back a little bit. And you can do it on notes. Meow, ow, meow. It's basically your chords not closing all the way. So the best way, it's so weird, the best way to scream is to learn how to whisper. So it's a very, you asked a good question because it's a really complicated technique and there are a lot of warm-ups for it. Melissa Cross, though, online, she has a bunch of videos and she's great. And I can attest she's great because I've met her in person. She's fantastic. But for women, that if you're thinking higher too, like, what's a good example? Like AC/DC, right? Like, like that kind of thing. You can kind of think nasal for that. And that becomes kind of a like scratchy cry too. And you can carry that down like Tom Waits. So think up here and go, oh my God, ow, like the nanny, and try to go, back hit the set. It's more this way and it's like you're yelling, but you're not yelling from here. You're yelling from here. Same thing with Tom Waits, but it's lower, so it's actually maybe easier. But it's this whisper moment. Did that answer your question? That's a very convoluted question, but it's good. I'll send some Melissa Cross your way also. She's great.
Yeah, I think it's funny to ask about how to sing like Tom Waits in a vocal masterclass because it's like, what?
Gargle glass. That's my... Just chew on some glass. No, I love Tom Waits. I do.
No, well, I'm sure we have a bunch more questions because this is a very active group, which is really cool. We're not going to take up too much more of your time, but I'd like to maybe finish with a question which speaks more to the mental approach than the actual physical singing. And, you know, we ask a lot of this of our students, both kids and adults, to do things in a band setting, so they have to prepare themselves in front of 4 or 5 or 6 people, and then several times a year they share themselves in front of hundreds of people at a concert. And of all the instruments, the voice is the most personal, and I think it's always where the biggest roadblock is because I don't think of myself as a singer or a great singer, or maybe it's just because I've been performing for many years. I just grab a mic and be silly. That's kind of what I like. So I don't have a problem just kind of jumping into it. But a lot of people have a problem stepping up to that mic.
Yeah.
And like just saying, okay, I'm going to go for it, you know? And maybe from your own personal experience as a performer, as a singer, like, do you have any tips for people or just some advice of how to get out of your own head and embrace the fact that, I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to answer the question for you, but we all have a unique voice, which is amazing. And like, how do we share that in a comfortable, confident way?
It's an amazing question. And that question is the reason I started music therapy training, because I would get these students coming to me with these voices that were like, I have a student right now who is Instagram famous, I guess you would say. and she can do whistle notes like Mariah Carey. And I have never encountered that live. And she's just phenomenal. And she has the worst stage fright of anyone I've ever seen. She has the most self-doubt. It is so often the most talented people that have the least amount of confidence. And that's just like the battle of the world. And then you turn on American Idol and you see these people who cannot sing at all in those joke rounds, you know, which I think are terrible actually, but they get up and they sing and they're like, why are you here? And they're like, I'm the best singer. It's like, why did that have to happen? Why can't all the talented people have all the confidence too? But there is a way to work on your own belief in yourself and your own confidence. And it is just through honestly like practicing and feeling like your voice has something to say. And I don't mean that in terms of your speaking voice. I mean it in terms of this voice. You know, you guys are doing a lot of songwriting. You all have had very different lives. You all have your own baggage. You all have had relationship, you know, drama. You bring your own voice to every song you sing, even if you didn't write it. Even if you didn't write it, you can take an Adele song and sing it your way. So I still, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, like anytime before a gig, I poop a lot because I'm so nervous. And I one time met a world famous opera singer and was about to sing for her and was like flipping out. And she came up to me and she was like, I just want you to know, I get diarrhea before I do any opera. And then she just walked away. And I was like, holy cow. And so I think also remembering that like, no matter where you are in life, nerves are natural. Nerves are a part of life. You're gonna get nervous. I like to turn it into excitement. I like to think, oh, I'm nervous. That's my body's natural reaction to something that I'm excited for that is about to happen. So thinking of it, trying to kind of like, if you need to, you know, have a manifesting mantra of when you feel nervous, be like, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. Write it on a Post-it note, put it on the mirror. That will add a new element to your performance in general because it'll add passion and happiness and exuding excitement instead of nerves, which nerves to me often translate to limited vocal ability, right? Nerves translate to tension. Tension translates to bad vocal technique. And then it's a cycle because if you allow the nerves to come in and you have a bad performance, you're carrying that bad performance to the next performance. And then it's endless, 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 endless. So it's everyone's own personal journey, unfortunately, but I will say as studying music therapy now, the psychoanalytical side of singing, because your voice is inside your body, is a real thing. And it's very real if you were told a long time ago by someone that you can't sing, or this was bad, or oh, never sing that again. You have that inside you forever. I think it's the worst thing in the world for someone to say someone can't sing. That's why I wanted to be a teacher, because my voice teacher was a nightmare. She was a nightmare. I wouldn't even sing. I would take a breath and she'd go, ugh. I didn't sing. She didn't hear me sing bad. I just went, ugh. That took me 3 years to get over. And I had to go to therapy and I had to perform a ton. But surround yourself with supportive people. You're already halfway there because you're in a school that is going to support the crap out of you. And if you make a mistake, that's great. You can learn from it. Perfection is really boring. Really boring. Very rarely do I ask people who their favorite artist is and they say Celine Dion. Very rare. I love Celine Dion. Vocally, I think she's amazing. She didn't hit people in the way Tom Waits hits people, right? She didn't hit people in the way, who has a weird voice? I don't know. Like there are certain people that have these voices and you know who they are. Freddie Mercury. Watch live. The other thing I'll say, sorry, Jason, I could go off on this forever because I'm really passionate about it.
How about Nick Cave?
Nick Cave, Luke, that's a fantastic example. Nick Cave, so emotional, puts his heart in his voice, you know? Absolutely. Tom York, excellent. Michael Stipe, I love Tom York. Tom York's Radio, it's my favorite band. Exactly. But the other thing that you guys need to start doing is realize that recording studio voices are not the same as live voices. And don't compare yourself. That's the thing that Ariana Grande has an amazing voice and she can sing live. So I think she is a good example, but do not compare yourself to Ariana Grande. Mary Margaret O'Hara. Yes, good examples. Great. Throw them in. I love it. You can't compare yourself to people who have $2,000 microphones, unlimited budget in a recording studio, a voice teacher here, a producer here, a magic weird elixir here. You know, you can't compare yourself to those people. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's not setting you guys up for success. So start to watch live videos and realize people are humans and everyone poops right before they go on. Just think of that if you can.
So the theme of this masterclass is everyone poops. My 3-year-old, everyone poops. So this is perfect. It all ties in.
Very tied to singing.
Well, does anybody have one last question? I think Michelle won on that, getting up quickly. Michelle, let's do that.
Okay, sorry. This is a question actually for my son who couldn't tune in tonight. But for kids whose voices change, and I see it happen a lot in the rock school with the kids. These kids are great singers when they're young, and then their voice changed, and all of a sudden they're writing deep, dark songs because they're now in this low range, and they're just not used to their voice yet. And he wanted to know what he can do to sort of get more control over this new being that's possessing him now. Because it has been a big change, and he writes songs and everything, and all of a sudden he's like, I can't do that because I can't sing that note anymore. So he's had to adjust stuff, and he just wanted to know what he could do to sort of reclaim control over it again.
It's a fantastic question. It is so challenging to work with, especially males, when their voices are changing, because you're not only battling the hormonal changes, which do change your voice, but your physical voice actually changes. So what happens, understanding this allows for peace and patience, I find. What happens is, let's say your voice was once this shape, well, now it's this shape. It has changed totally. So you're not used to controlling the muscle of your voice into making your voice close. And it's so aggravating. And girls, this actually happens to you too. It's not as noticeable, but it does happen to girls right around 16, 17. And another fun fact, when you're on your period, your voice changes because there's hormonal changes. So we all get to experience it. It's really great. So my short answer for your son is warm-ups and practice and trying to figure out how to sing scales and get through those bridges like we were talking about are helpful. But a lot of patience is also helpful because every month the bridge will change. It'll get lower, it'll get higher. So the more he can work on warm-ups, I'll include in the boy tape, I'll include like a voice change warm-up. I've never wrote that down. It's wonderful. A voice change warm-up that can help. But ultimately, this is a battle that will last about a year, and then the battle will be over and he'll settle. So it's like warm-ups, writing songs where you're comfortable, and maybe using songwriting now as a means of expression rather than a means of I need to show my voice off. Maybe this is the year that we practice lyric writing and don't worry so much about hitting these high notes because you're fighting an uphill battle, you know? So work on other parts of the muscle while you're doing the warm-ups, because biology is just gonna win this fight every time, you know, when it comes to songwriting. But I will include some warm-ups. There are things you can do to make it a little easier, but who's the kid in Stranger Things? The kid, Dustin from Stranger Things? Oh my God, okay. So on YouTube, he did these cabarets at this place called 54 Below, and he would sing, and you'd be like, oh my God, he has such a good voice. And then like a year later, there's videos and you're like, Emily. It's really sad because he was going through it too. Everybody goes through it, you know? So again, just understanding that like this is a part of life and how can I make the most of it at this time without never wanting to sing again, you know, without stripping the joy out of it. I think that's the most important part. And when you get pregnant, June, yes, your voice majorly changes when you get pregnant. You're right, majorly. Anna Netrebko, the opera singer, said she wished she could be pregnant all the time because her breathing was amazing. Yeah. Maybe people do that. I don't know. I'm not going to be one of those people, tell you that.
Oh, gosh, I'm just cracking up here. You're just a trip. I love this. Okay. Well, you have a whole bunch of stuff that you're taking notes on. Feel free to send me whatever you'd like. Is there anything you wanted to wrap up with, Emily, or?
I mean, again, like, I know I threw a ton at you guys today, and for that reason, this is like not a substitute for your own vocal journey, for lessons. Lessons are invaluable with a teacher that you trust, that is kind, that will not make you sing horizontally, right? that is good, you know? And yeah, I mean, if you love to sing, then do it, is my biggest advice. A lot of people say they love singing and they don't sing, you know, because, oh, I can't sing in my apartment, my neighbors, or, oh, I don't want so-and-so to hear me sing. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that buries in your brain and it carries into your performance. Oh, I don't, you know, all of a sudden I don't want my roommate to hear, carries into, well, I'm going to have a hard time in front of these 20 people. So you kind of have to build your boldness along with building your voice. So build the two muscles together with practicing and listening and being engaged with these, like, you know, YouTube. I wish YouTube was around when I was younger because there's so much stuff on there that you can learn from. You can have your own education. But again, I say that all, be very careful because if it starts to hurt, no, not happening. And Jason, I'm more than happy. My email address is on the internet anyway. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to give you my email. I love this. I like legit love it. You're not bothering me. I could stay forever. I love talking about singing, especially with people who are so passionate about it. So I'm happy to help in whatever way I can.
Well, that's amazing. I'm sure that there are at least a handful of us who are going to be emailing you for some weekly lessons because you have been phenomenal. This has been
awesome. I'd be so happy.
It's been such a pleasure. I'll be perfectly honest with you. As charming as you were in chatting with you in preparations, I was kind of like, okay, vocal masterclass, like whatever. I'm just gonna be here. I'm not really a singer. I've had such a good time. I've learned, and I can tell that everybody here has had a great time. We have not had that many questions on any of our master classes so far. So a huge thank you. Let's all unmute for 1 second and say thank you to
Oh, my pledge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Together, I would like hug everyone. It would be so wonderful. I wish we were all together.
You know, I'm sure, you know, the next time you come to Paris, we'll have a whole bunch of people that would love to meet you.